Have you ever wondered what happens if you cross shows such as Elfenlied and Steins Gate? You'll probably end up with this. It's called Future Diary. Hello guys, it's Zach G, and today on Untitled Reviews we are reviewing Future Diary, a show that blends murder, romance, and a lot of other things. Especially murder. A lot of it.
Gotcha, you bastard.
The story of Future Diary is nothing new to start with. You have Yuki, who is just a bystander in life. He doesn't do any sports, he's in no clubs. His only real standout trait is jotting down things that happen around him in his diary. After going home one day, he decides to have a talk with his not-so-imaginary friend, Deus Ex Machina. He then decides to give him a future diary, and as like anybody else in his situation, he totally uses this to his advantage on tests and other normal day-to-day stuff, such as, avoiding bullies. All seems to be going well until Yuno finds him after school. She tells him that there are 10 more diary users out there trying to kill him to become God. Cause that's how gods are made, through violence and bloodshed. Oh, and it's at this point the show just starts turning into a bloodbath with Yuno right in the middle of it. This show is great in many aspects, but it does have some downsides to go along with it, such as plot holes. The story of Future Diary has many plot holes. However, they try to cram so much into what little time they have is that they make some mistakes, and I find myself overlooking these mistakes because the story itself is very enjoyable. So sure, this isn't the best story out there, but I found myself enjoying this a damn good bit, and I think that you guys would too. Moving on into characters. First we have Yuki Amano, basically a Shinji clone. Next we have Yuno. Oh, what? That basically is what he is. That is what he is. I'm not. Fine, okay. Yuki sees his own life as if he were a bystander. Basically, he doesn't want to interfere with other people, he's just an observer around him, which he records in his cell phone's diary. Also, he has an imaginary friend that just so happens to be the god of space and time, Deus Ex Machina. Nice name, but totally does not live up to it. He grants him a future diary. As the name suggests, it's a diary, but from the future. See why I refer to Steins Gate yet? Next is Yuno. Her character was awesome. That's pretty much all I can say. I feel like if I talk too much about her character, it'll give away some spoilers. But I'll try to say some things about her. Yuno Gasai is in love with Yuki. I mean, in love with Yuki. So much so that it's oftentimes creepy. I felt uncomfortable watching many scenes where she had him locked up. Other besides that, I can't really say too much about her besides the fact that she loves Yuki, because if I do, it'll give away too many spoilers. However, I will say this, is that she's more than what meets the eye. And for the rest of the characters, I'm not going to mention them because they're either too important to the story or they're just not in the story long enough for me to really even care about them. However, I will say this, they all are emotionally broken to a point. And when you're watching this anime, you try to figure out what is broken inside of them. And that's kind of the fun in this anime, is finding out what the hell is wrong with these people. Lucky for us, most of the more important side characters seem to have a backstory to them that you'll find out later on in the story, which really helps when you're trying to get to know the characters. However, this falls into one of the plot holes I mentioned earlier, is that they don't do this for all the characters, which they should have. But I can't help liking the characters anyway. Whether they have plot holes or not, whether they're not the most complete or not, doesn't really matter. They're very unique to Future Diary or Mirai Nikki. I love the characters, especially Yuno, because that is one crazy bitch. Sound, dub versus subbed, and animation. What is noteworthy about this anime is the first opening. It was fast and got you pumped for the show, and it also fit the themes of the anime that were present. Other besides that, nothing stood out to me. Not to say that the other sounds weren't bad, especially the ending and the second opening, it's just that they're not really all that memorable compared to the first opening. When it comes to the sounds that were inside the show, I felt that they were also very forgettable, and I can't honestly tell you that I've downloaded any of their OST tracks, because, well, they're just not really all that memorable, and that's all I gotta say about the sound in it. It wasn't bad, it just wasn't good. Okay, dub versus sub. Honestly, I don't really think it matters on this one, because both sub and dub did great in their respectable roles. However, if I did have to choose between, dub or sub, I would totally go with sub. As for animation, it seemed pretty normal. Nothing bad, but nothing really stood out in this animation category either. Everything just seemed to be very average. That doesn't mean it was bad by any means. I would rather have a show that looked average than be under animated. So to round up this category, dub and sub were both good. Sound was kind of forgettable except for the openings and endings. Animation was pretty average, but still a nice looking anime. Now it's time for the biggest part of this review, my opinion. As I said before, this has plot holes up the ass, however it doesn't hold it back from being a good anime. The story was interesting and kept me engaged from beginning to end. Also, the characters that did have backstories had great ones, which made me feel bad for them, and I wish that things would get better for them, until Yuno killed them. And this leads me into another reason why I like this anime so much. Yuno. Her character and the plot twists that she creates are very unique. I can honestly say I haven't watched an anime with so many plot twists that keep you guessing even past the end of the anime. But as much as I like Yuno, I can still find flaws that make me mad. I can't say what those flaws are because you would need to know the ending to understand, and that would be a major spoiler. But since we're on the subject of flaws, I feel like I need to point out the two biggest flaws in Future Diary. The first would be Yuki. At first, I thought he was just another Shinji clone, but I take that back. Shinji has a hell of a lot more balls than Yuki. I was seriously getting pissed. Near the end of the anime, he starts acting like a badass, but after 5 minutes of that, it's the same old Yuki cries like a little bitch while Yuno's doing all the fighting for him. And it's not just that, what makes me pissed most of all is 26 episodes of character development wasted on a crybaby. Say what you want about Shinji, but at least he had the balls to get into the Evangelion. Next is the ending on DVD. This one's going to be fast. It's garbage. That's it. If you want the real ending, you have to watch Mirai Nikki Redial. You can find it subbed online pretty much anywhere. Now that most of the negatives are gone, we can now focus on the positives of the show. There are way too many for me to mention in one video. I've already told you a few, like Yuno being a badass and some great side characters. However, if I did have to add any more positives, I would probably add the DBZ style of fights near the end. That was an awesome treat. To wrap things up, Mirai Nikki has Yuki, the crybaby in it, Yuno, the badass, and a shitty ending. Is it still a good anime? Hell yes! Even though it has all that, plus plot holes that would cover the moon, it still has uniqueness, and which is hard to find in anime nowadays where everything seems to be a generic cop-out of the same thing. Now before I get flagged for saying this is unique when some people might think this is a Steins Gate ripoff, I'll have to point towards the ending, and yes, even though I hate the ending, it's a completely different ending from Steins Gate. Don't get me wrong, I love Steins Gate, but that's its own anime altogether. Mirai Nikki is its own anime altogether also. Both of them have unique characteristics, and that's what makes both animes very good. And because of that, Mirai Nikki / Future Diary is getting a score of 8 out of 10, which is a very good, and an untitled rating of Blacklisted. Blacklisted basically means that I believe this show is very important or just amazing to watch, and you should watch it at least once. And I also enjoy this anime so much that I'm actually gonna give it an extra rating. It's called Moe Kill. Moe Kill anime is basically an anime that I own and that I watch more than 2 times. Because most of the time I watch an anime, and I probably won't watch it again for years later. For it to be a Moe Kill anime, it has to be an anime I've watched 2 times within 6 months. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed this review. This has been Zach G from Untitled Reviews. If you could leave a like down below or a comment, that would be great. You can follow me over at myanimelist.net. You'll see the scores for all the anime I'm going to review first there. Well guys, it's been fun. Later.